Our second panel is entitled The Contributions of the Gulen Movement to World Peace. It's going to be chaired by Professor Don Burke. Professor Burke is an assistant professor of education to the Department of Education in the School of Education and Professional Studies at Shepherd University. Today's panelists, I'd like to introduce them briefly, and then our moderator will introduce them and their bios as they speak. Our first speaker is Eileen Eppig of College of Notre Dame, Professor Kim of Temple University, Professor William Stewart of the University of Maryland, College Park, right here, and Professor Pim Valkenburg of Loyola University in Maryland. So if you would all please welcome them here to the stage.
Before you leave the podium, please, I don't seem to have Professor Stewart's biographical sketch. I will proceed and we will move on with today. Welcome to the World Peace Conference here at the University of Maryland. I'm very pleased to be here. You have heard a little bit about my credentialing, but let me tell you, I am now to tell you exactly who it is I am. My name is Dawn, and I grew up in rural West Virginia. Rural West Virginia I found not too many years ago. Last summer I was in Istanbul, Turkey. I was also in Greece, and this past summer I was in Jordan and Israel. And people are the same around the world. We are mothers, we are fathers, we are sisters, brothers, mothers, aunts, cousins. As I was driving through Harpers Ferry, West Virginia on my way here today, I was reminded that just about a week ago, we were celebrating here in the United States the insurrection in Harpers Ferry that was led by John Brown. John Brown, too, was a man of conviction, much as our celebrated guest who is here with us in spirit today, Gulen. I would like for you to join with me now as we welcome this distinguished panelist of guests to our World Peace Conference. Let me first begin with a statement about each of their backgrounds and their areas to which they have directed and shall direct their comments today. We have with us Professor Eppig, whose abstract includes statements about nonviolence. Nonviolence is so very, very important. Regarding that nonviolence, the professor directs attention to the Sufi belief that love is the essential element in every creature, and as Gulen tells us, this is to be universal. Also, the professor directs attention to peace, harmony, and these things shall replace violence and hatred on our planet. Human beings should respect each other. And as the chair of this panel, I must request that both our guest and our panelists keep two ideas in mind here today. That we remember human dignity and what that means and should mean for us. We should also remember human and mutual respect. It is so very, very important. With that, I also want to say that Professor Eppig is a member of the School of the Sisters of Notre Dame, where she is an associate professor of religious studies at the College of Notre Dame of Maryland, where specifically her areas are theological and cultural in nature. She holds an MA in Theology and Spirituality from Fordham University, and I believe that's in Mississippi. Is that correct? I'm sorry? In New York. I am so sorry. I apologize. I was at a conference with Herman Hathaway not long ago from Mississippi. I guess my mind kind of crossed over. And she also studied at the prestigious Catholic University. I can tell you that one of my former mentors at the undergraduate level, Dr. Betty Elsie, graduated from Catholic, and I must thank her indubitably for the painful writing skills that she taught me along the way on my own educational journey. But the professor here has led study tours in El Salvador, Morocco, Egypt, and Jordan, has also been in Israel and Turkey, and also has considerations of the is affiliated with the Islamic Society of Baltimore, where she also works with 2 Muslim-Christian dialogues. Also with us today is Professor Kim. Professor Kim will speak to us about humanism and what that means, and most specifically, dialogic humanism. I always get very intrigued with dialectic and dialogic ideas. So I am very, very interested in hearing the professor today, because these 2 concepts can be traced through most of our ancient civilizations. Professor Kim is a PhD and holds that PhD from the Department of Religion at Temple University. I don't think, Professor, that I could be seated here today if we would not have a representative from our city of brotherly love. His dissertation was entitled The Nature and Role of Sufism in Contemporary Islam, and it was a case study. And I'm sure it was quite interesting. And I am very interested to hear what the professor has to say here today, specifically about dialogic humanism. Professor Pim Valkenburg is going to talk to us today about preventing violence and achieving world peace. And given the climate of things on the planet today, I think that we would very much be to stay alert. We should not allow ourselves to find ourselves digressing from what the professor has to say. This is so very, very important. He also has been involved with many faith-based service movements that say something about our brothers and sisters of the Quran, of the Holy Quran, and many faith-based, other faith-based service movements. And I think that today, culminating, I could say that maybe we will be addressing or at least hitting upon the 3 principal Abrahamic religions of our world. So that is always a principal interest for me as well. Professor Valkenburg was born in 1954. I have to admit this to this audience, that is my birth year. I don't often admit that, so please enjoy. He studied theology at the Utrecht State University and the Catholic Theological University. He has also written a dissertation that speaks directly to the theological underpinnings of the works of Thomas Aquinas. So I will move on. And did we find a biographical? She gave it to me? Yes. Okay, thank you, sir. Professor Stewart is from your own University of Maryland here at College Park. I have known about Professor Stewart before arriving. I am very interested to hear him talk about the social capital and peace building here and around the world. He teaches anthropology here at the University of Maryland. And ethnology and anthropology really are very central to what it is I do. I guess if we had to collapse it and say what it is I do, I would technically be referred to as a human developmentalist. So without further ado, each of our speakers today will present their subject areas for about 20 minutes. We will have questions and answers at the end. And I would like to say, I don't think we have an order, do we? So I will let, start right here, my immediate right.